Hello, everyone.
Welcome back to our channel. I'm Megan.
I'm Dwayne.
And we are the Blended Family Marriage Coaches. That's who we are and what we do. If you're new here, now you know. Today we're going to be talking about some of the more common problems that blended families have in general, not necessarily just as they relate to marriage, but just a blended family in general. And I'm way excited about this because we're going to cover 3 topics, and all 3 of them are hot button issues. And you guys are going to be like, yes, because that's what everybody says when we talk about these 3 topics. So I'm excited about it. So stay tuned. So for the very best advice on your blended family marriage, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. Where is it, Dwayne?
Right.
Usually right around there. Make sure you hit that button so that way you guys don't miss a single episode. We have talked recently over the last couple weeks about blending families. And I will link some of those videos. I'm super excited about that because seriously, you need to address these issues before they become issues. So I'll link some of those videos in the description box below. But for now, let's just jump straight into today's topic. So today, like I said, we're going to be talking about some of the more common problems that we come across as we help blended families. And the very first problem that we hear so often is the priorities in a blended family. That is so hard. And it's such a general topic. Our advice is such a general thing,
right?
Wisdom, that of course there's exceptions to it. So we're going to discuss that as well. But as far as Dwayne and I are concerned, the priorities in a family, period, whether you're blended or not, they don't change. And the first priority is Jesus Christ. It's always your relationship with Jesus Christ. And everybody within the family's individual relationships with Jesus Christ. We serve a Lord who wants relationship with us, who wants communion with us. And that is the very first priority in any marriage. And that's what Dwayne and I teach. The second one is the marriage relationship. Right. That is the second highest priority in your marriage. And that's hard. That's a hard pill to swallow. Right. Because there are times when, yes, right now we are in a season with whatever, and our marriage relationship doesn't look like the highest priority because we are busy raising kids, because maybe you have a sick child, because custody schedules dictate that during this time, my relationship with my kids is the most important, and not that I'm going to not come back to my husband, but right now I need to spend the most time that I can with my kids. Right. So there's always exceptions, but like I said, generally, the marriage is the most important relationship. Right. And we say this all the time. It is more important for your kids to see a successful marriage than for anything else to be modeled in the home. It is so important for them to see strong communication, right, conflict resolution, love, service, servanthood. All of those things are to be reflected in your marriage. And those are the things that are going to allow your kids to grow up and be healthy, contributing adults.
Right. We say often, if you've watched our video very long, that our job and your job as parents is not to raise good kids. Your job is to raise good adults. Yes. And so that's why it's so vital to show your kids that the marriage is the most important relationship, because eventually they move out, or at least they should.
We hope they do.
We hope that
Dwayne and I we said this last video, we were in a season of empty nest. So let me tell you, hold on for that. It's fun.
Right. It definitely is.
But it's only fun because we made our marriage a priority.
Right.
If we hadn't made our marriage a priority, and all of a sudden all of our kids are out on their own, except TJ, I don't mean to neglect the little one, the youngest. She's not the littlest, but she's the youngest, and I don't mean to neglect her. She's 15, and we see her just as often as we can. We have a great relationship with TJ, but she's not in our home very often.
Right.
So we do have an empty nest, and the reason why that is so much fun is because we fed our marriage so much when we were in the middle of raising kids and having teenagers and having sporting events and all of that. We made our marriage the priority that it needed to be. And therefore, now we have the freedom and ability to truly enjoy the empty nest season.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to get to the end of the raising of the kids when they're in your home and the kids are gone and you look at each other like, who are
Who
you?
are you? Yeah.
Like, and then all of a sudden, you're like, well, I don't even like you. And then it causes all kinds of issues. So making the marriage a priority is so vital. And it gives your kids, like we've talked about, we are looking at trying to change generations.
Yes.
And we want to change our kids' generation by showing them what a successful, good marriage looks like. And then even, further down, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, we want to be able to show them that. And so it is so vital to make the marriage the most important relationship after your relationship with Jesus Christ.
I recently heard a statement, and it has just rung in my brain. Do you ever get those like, oh, that's good, and you just kind of ruminate on it and think about it? What I heard was that the marriage relationship is a weapon for evangelism.
Right, a weapon.
And that is so vital.
Right.
And when you look at it that way, when you look at the relationship for everything that it was supposed to be, everything that it was meant to be, then it makes sense why, scripturally, why balanced families puts the marriage relationship first. Right. We talked a lot about the purpose of marriage and why marriage is important in one of our videos. I'll link it up above right now, so that way you guys can check it out later when after you're done watching this video. So I think we made that point. So right. Jesus Christ, the marriage relationship, the relationship with the children, and then everything else. And that is the most important. And another thing that I want to say is a lot of times, even good things, even good relationships get in that priority mixed up, whether it be serving at your church, if you're a pastor and serving on the staff of your church, if you're, doing good works and doing good things for even the kingdom of God, that can come out of priority if it comes above any of those relationships. So again, your relationship with Jesus Christ, your marriage relationship, and then your relationship with your kids, and then everything else, including your church service.
Right.
But we also know that there are seasons when those get a little bit out of whack, but it's so important for everybody to know this is just a season, have the strong communication through that, and figure out how to make that the best priority given that season.
Right.
Another area of problems that we have found in blended families is transitions. And my heart just breaks for kids of blended families. As an adult, I cannot imagine living in two homes. Right. I just can't. I can't imagine what it's like to have to bring all of my stuff, everything that I want, all that I want for a weekend, or whether it be 50-50 custody. I can't imagine having two rooms, maybe even one room and a couch, or a shared room with somebody else in another home, or whatever. And that is tough on those poor kids.
Right.
I'm going to switch that a little bit, and it's tough on adults too. When you are in the middle of a routine and you're just going through your week and you're going through your day and you're just in the middle of it, and all of a sudden you have 2 or 3 or one more kid to take care of, or that's thrown into that routine, that is so hard. Dwayne and I noticed early on that the biggest conflict in our marriage arose when there was a change in routine.
Right.
Whether it be a custody routine, a custody schedule, or if it was a new job, or if it was adding something else. Maybe it was, we went from football season to volleyball season, or, something along those lines. Every time there was a change in our routine, we really noticed that was when the most conflict happened in our marriage. And our kids are the same way. So I would suggest to you to recognize those. How do our kids handle those transition days?
Right.
Make them low key. I often post all over social media on Sundays that oftentimes Sundays are a day of transition for blended families. And let's remember to pray for our blended family friends, because that's real. And I would suggest that transition days are very low key for everybody in the house. Don't make these the days of big extravagant dinners. Don't make these big family meal days where you meet with extended family and do everything with the extended family. Don't make these days anything where expectations are going to have to be met, whether it be the meal.
Right.
Maybe fighting with your kids over what they're going to eat at the dinner table. Today's not the day. Fix their favorite. If every Sunday night is pizza night, that's fine. Fix their favorite food on the transition days, so that way you don't have the battles over the dinner table. That goes back to picking your battles. And just have some sympathy for them and what they're going through. Even if they like both homes equally, even if mom and dad, whatever, they have great relationships with both parents, even if everything is fine, just having to move at least twice a week from one house to the other and back again is brutal for those poor kiddos. So I would just tell you, extend grace. Give those kids the benefit of the doubt on those transition days, that really what you're looking at isn't necessarily a misbehaving or a naughty or breaking the boundaries child. You're looking at a child that just needs to decompress a little bit and remember that they're in the new home now. They're in a different atmosphere. Let's face it, they're going to have different rules. Whether you are more lenient or you're more strict, whether you have better boundaries than the co-parent or you have not as many boundaries, whether that has always been the child's home and visiting the other parent is more like a vacation or not where they're the most comfortable. Either way, those kids need to decompress.
And another, I think for me, another issue on that is, don't make the transition day, that's not a day when you need to be grilling your kids about what they did over at the other parent's house or whatever. Quite honestly, whatever happened at the other house, unless that child's safety was in danger, whatever happens over there, remember we've talked about this, you can only control what happens within your own four walls, and whatever happens over there, quite honestly, is none of your business. It doesn't matter what they had for dinner over there or what they did on, Friday night or whatever it is. It really doesn't matter. Is it going to change anything? No. Like I said,
if they want to talk to you about it, be open about that. If they're excited about a weekend that they just had, don't shut them down either, because that's something that we see often. I don't want to hear what happened to you at your mom's house. I don't want to hear what happened at your dad's house. They're excited about that. That's half of their life. You want to hear about that. I promise you will regret not hearing about it. And like Dwayne said, it's so important, but at the same time, don't make that weird. Don't make it at the dinner table be like, so what do you have for dinner at Friday night? And what about Saturday night? And what about, did your mom do this? Did your dad take you here? Did you do this? Don't do that to those kids. If it's important, then they'll tell you. Or if you need to know, communicate that through the co-parent. Yeah, definitely. The children are not the go-between, and we hear it all the time. It happens all the time. And really what you're doing is you're putting the kids where they feel like they have to defend the other parent. Even if the other parent isn't as good of a parent, what, in your opinion, not, you still are you're putting your child in the middle of that, and that's not fair to them. Don't do that to them. That's it. Simply, that's exactly it. It's just not fair. And after teaching on boundaries for so long, I know that boundaries are important. And after teaching on picking your battles for so long, I know that that's an important concept. But I'm here to tell you, the more low-key and relaxed that you can make those transition days, the better off for everybody. And if you need to change your transition days, so let's say that your transition days are like Wednesday nights, and Wednesday nights always end up totally and completely wrecked and nauseous, and everybody's just grumpy and at each other's throat. Maybe an option is to change your transition days. And I know that might, if you don't have a good relationship with a co-parent and you don't want another court battle just to make your Wednesday nights better, I get that. But if you do have a good relationship, or even a cordial one where you can say, this just isn't working for the kids, can we make our transition nights on this night instead? And don't make it a benefit to you. Wednesday nights are really busy for us. We've got this, we've got that, we've got that. So Wednesday nights aren't going to work. Make it convenient for the kids. For us, our rhythm really happened when transition happened at the school. So Monday mornings, usually, the kids would be dropped off at the school by whoever had them that weekend. And then the kids were picked up after school on the transition days as well by the other parent. So it really worked for us that way. But again, something else to consider for the kids. What if they forgot homework, or they forgot a backpack, or they forgot their uniform or whatever at the other person's house? Just extend grace there. Understand what those poor kids are going through, and just extend grace for them. That leads us to the final subject that we wanted to hit on today. I want to talk about parenting styles. That's such a huge fight in blended families. And can I be honest? It was a huge fight for Dwayne and I.
It really was.
It was. It took a while for us to find our rhythm and how we work together and what that is. So often I want to put things into perspective because as a stepmom, I so wanted to blame Dwayne's parenting style on the fact that I was a stepmom and he was a biological dad. But in reality, had we had kids together, we would have had the same fights. Yes. We would have had the same conversations. So I wanted to blame it on the blended family dynamic, but if I took a step back and realized, you know what? Had we had kids together, if this was our biological 11-year-old, whatever, we would be having the same conversation because of the way that we were raised, because of our beliefs on how to parent a child. And that was something that I felt like once I realized that, once I understood that I can't blame it on the co-parent, I can't blame it on Dwayne's ex-wife or the kids' mom, I have to blame it on me. It was like an eye-opener because the truth is I can't change her. I can't change the way that she decided to raise her kids. And now I am partially responsible and capable in raising these 3 kids that Dwayne and his ex-wife raised to a certain point, and then I became responsible for them. And I blamed every little issue on his parenting style. And when he saw me interact with my kids, he was like, oh, honestly, I'm just going to say this, I'm a little bit more strict than he is, and I have higher expectations in the kids than he did. And yes, we were able to compromise there, and yes, we got through those struggles, and yes, I had to ask a lot of grace and forgiveness, as did Dwayne, from the parenting styles that we both brought to the marriage. Right. So I think that if you can just understand you are 2 different people, and it makes sense that you have 2 sets of different kids. It makes sense that Dwayne's kids behaved differently, had different rules, had a different upbringing, had different experiences than my kids. Therefore, they're going to behave differently. Right. They have different personalities.
Imagine that.
I know. It's weird. So while we always want to treat our kids the same as far as these are our house rules. These are our house boundaries. This is what is acceptable. This is what is not acceptable within our home. We also have to take our kids' personalities, our kids' histories, our kids' everything into consideration when we're parenting them. Right. And that is something that we need to do whether or not they are our biological children.
That's right.
I think that just really helped me once I realized this isn't going to change. Like, it's not like if we had a child together, Dwayne would have changed his personality totally and would have become the parent that I thought he needed to be. So in this, the different parenting styles, please sit down and have conversations regarding that. We have plenty of videos on how to communicate. I have tools on how to have effective communication, especially when it comes to conflict. And I would love to share those with you. Just reach out and we can talk. But for the most part, just know that you are 2 individuals coming together to parent children that also are individuals. Right. Do you have anything that you want to add to that?
No, I really don't. She's so right. You know, we both have different parenting styles, and those parenting styles wouldn't have changed if we had had children together. So that's I think so vital and such good advice for you really to be looking at your different parenting styles. Maybe kind of like she said, take a step back, evaluate those parenting styles, and just know that you're 2 individuals.
Yes.
There's probably very few things that you have in common, whether whatever. So obviously there were some things that you had in common, but it's going to be different parenting styles. It's going to be different way to reacting to situations or whatever it is. So you're 2 individuals, and you need to keep that in mind and make sure you have that conversation about your parenting styles in different situations.
So that's all we have for you guys today. We just wanted to